things. So today I'm working on a director spotlight video I've been meaning to do for ages because he's been one of my favorite directors for a really long time, and that is Dario Argento. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. My Italian is atrocious. So he was born in Rome, Italy in 1940. His father is Salvatore Argento, who was one of the leading producers in all of Italy, especially at the time in the 40s and 50s. And Dario's brother is Claudio, who has also assisted him on a great number of films, and he has two daughters, Asia and Fior. He is majorly influenced by Ingmar Bergman, who is also an amazing director. I wish I had seen more of his films so I could do a topic on him. But I am an obsessive Argento collector. So his first directorial film was The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, which kind of was a big, important landmark in the Giallo genre. And it's really a fascinating film, and it involves the murder mystery and the lewd, lavish, brilliant color palettes that made him famous. His second film, which I haven't actually watched yet, this DVD just arrived, is Cat O' Nine Tails, which again with the murder and the mystery and the sex appeal, and I'm assuming, like all the rest of his films, they're really amazing color palettes that made me love him. And then Four Flies on Grey Velvet. So the first films came out in 1971 and 1972 respectively. This is from 1974. This is again with the murder mystery aspect. There's a bit of a reoccurring plot theme in a lot of these, and you're better off just kind of looking them up for yourself. And it's part of his supposed Animal trilogy, being the third part to go with the other two. And then goes into one of his all-time classics, which is Deep Red, which definitely goes into farther into the murder mystery appeal, and sort of starts off with one of his favorite tropes of his films, which is putting a woman through a window, which happens a lot. There's lots of the Technicolor blood aspect going on here. But musicians also make a pretty common appearance in his films, and this is a good one with an English pianist investigating the murder. My favorite film of his is Suspiria, which is at a ballet school in Switzerland and has to do with a coven of witches. So this is actually part one of a trilogy, which I've mentioned in at least a couple other films or film lists. And again, this does feature a woman being put through a window and the really amazing, beautiful Technicolor thing. This is actually part two of that trilogy, Inferno, which again has that bright, surrealistic color palette deal and continues with the investigation of the second of the Three Mothers, which is because it's the Three Mothers trilogy. And so it kind of takes place in Rome and in New York, and this part mostly takes place in New York. And then Tenebrae, one that's relatively obnoxious to try and find a copy of in the US, and it goes and follows a murder mystery writer who's actually an American, John Saxon. For those who aren't familiar with Italian cinema, it was a very, very common thing for people to record the film but not the audio at the same time and post-dub it. And so it looks a little bit funny, and you kind of wonder, it's like, is that actually that person's voice? And it was just a common practice to dub films automatically in English so that they are more marketable on a worldwide scale. My second favorite Dario Argento film, with a very young Jennifer Connelly in 1985, with a really cool soundtrack and Donald Pleasance as an entomologist, is Phenomena. This one actually has some pretty grody scenes in it, and it's quite something else. It was originally released in the US as an 85-minute cut called Creepers. This is the director's cut. That's like an hour and 40 minutes instead of an hour and 25. So all the nice, gory, grisly scenes are intact. This is, again, my second favorite Argento film. I didn't see it until like a year and a half ago, and I really, really love it despite my general dislike of bugs. And there's a lot of bugs in this, but they help, not hinder. So this is definitely a fun one. This one's kind of weird. Opera came out in, what is it, 87? And it's a guy stalks an opera singer and then forces her to watch him murder people while he's wearing a mask. Which, as you can imagine, is quite harrowing. It's a very strange film. The next one of his films that I actually have is The Stendhal Syndrome, which I haven't watched yet, but there are two films that come in between that I haven't seen, nor do I own, which is, I did see Two Evil Eyes, which he co-directed with George Romero. That was very interesting. And it's two different Poe stories. They each directed half of the film. And then Trauma, which I honestly don't know anything about. It didn't get very good reviews, and I haven't particularly cared to look into it too much. This one I do want to watch. It does feature his daughter Asia. His daughter Fior is in Phenomena, and Asia is in this one. And it has to do with murderous paintings. So I'm very curious to look into it. I only bought it more recently and haven't gotten the chance to. I appreciate it's sponsored by Troma Company, which is very entertaining. The next film he did after this I have seen, but it's also something I hate talking about because I hate that movie because I was just so disappointed, which is his adaptation of Phantom of the Opera from 1998 that features his daughter Asia as Christine. In this adaptation, the Phantom is not disfigured, but he is raised by rats. And I highly advise that you do not watch this film because I was majorly disappointed and kind of skeezed out because it's a little too sleazy and a little too why. So I don't recommend that. The next film that he did after that is The Card Player, which I haven't seen. I haven't really seen that many of his films from the past decade and a half. After The Card Player, he did Do You Like Hitchcock, which I really do want to see. It's technically a TV movie, but it has some pretty good reviews. I don't know anything about it, but I really would like to get a chance to watch it. Next film that he did after that, which I do have because it's a conclusion to the Three Mothers trilogy, which is The Mother of Tears, which again features his daughter Asia, who's in several of his films. She's a beautiful woman. She's actually a pretty solid actress and a screenwriter herself. And this also features Udo Kier, who, if you're a horror fan and you like a lot of the sleazy 70s cinema, Udo Kier shows up in a lot of really random things, including Suspiria. And he's showed up in all kinds of things. You just have to sort of spot him. So this is a pretty solid conclusion to the trilogy. It's not as beautiful or as poignant as the first two films because it's no longer in the 70s, 80s era. And it's kind of, stylistically, it's a little different. But it's interesting and worth the watch, especially if you saw the first two films and liked them. The next film that he did after that is Giallo from 2009, which I haven't seen, but I'm kind of curious to see it since he more or less invented the Giallo genre. His last film that he's done, he's in his 70s now, is Dracula, and this is one of the worst film adaptations of Dracula I've seen. And I really advise that you don't watch it. It's Dracula 3D, and just don't bother. Just really don't. And I think it might still be on Netflix, and just don't. Because it looks like 70s sleazy trash, but it came out in 2012, and so you're kind of mad about it the whole time. And it's very disappointing. So I've tossed around the word Giallo a few times in this, and it's a very particular style that was very common in Italy for, it's like the pre-slasher genre that involves a lot of sex and violence and kind of this pulpy feel. And Giallo takes after the type of pulpy detective and sleaze story things that you could get all around Rome, especially in the 40s and 50s. And they're kind of these super low pulp versions of detective stories or whatever, and they kind of got translated into the screen going into the 70s. Bird with the Crystal Plumage is one of the first examples of this. Should I get to the point that I see enough of his films, I'll cover Lucio Fulci, who is also another master of this genre. Other Italian directors I will go into at another point in time and probably do a whole big video on Italian horror history since it's very dear to me. Anyway, I hope that I have some viewers that like Argento as much as I do because I don't know what it is. His films are beautiful and sleazy and really unique. And also, I'm all there for some very creative violence. Till next time, Darklings.